Welcome back to the Brandon K Show. I am your host, as always, Brandon K. And we're in the middle of Dealing With Week, where we talked about dealing with alcoholism, dealing with addiction, dealing with anxiety. So far, that's all we've done. Today, we're going to talk about dealing with depression. I'm here with my very good friend, Mr. Frank.
Hey, Brandon.
So, of course, I'm going to go to Frank to talk about depression because me and Frank met at a depression group. He had it open for us all to come and be counseled by him, and he had some great advice about how to work through depression. I learned a lot from Mr. Frank here.
Thank you. And I was a member of the group. I wasn't like a teacher of the group. I was an equal member of the group, but I always used to bring in articles and web podcast information and stuff like that so we could all share in it.
Yeah. And so there was like a reading at the beginning of the group, which is like somewhat about like just letting you say it better than I do. You describe those readings at the beginning?
Well, what I used to try to say was, please, let's not spend the hour complaining.
It was the no complainers group.
No complainers group, please, because so many times, unfortunately, I was in depression recovery groups. And if you would look at it, the balance of the time was people complaining about their problems, and I started thinking it wasn't really that good for recovery to sit there and like kind of wallow in that and pre-live it and relive it and relive it and all this kind of stuff. I started thinking we were really kind of spreading the disease of depression a little bit with that. So I wanted to say to people that, when we talk about things that aren't going our way, when we talk about the setbacks that we're having and the symptoms we're having, why can't we sort of describe them more as like in a scientific way? Trying to share with the members of the group, hey, these are the problems I'm having, the problems I'm going through. These are the things that I'm trying to do, and these are how they're working for me right now.
As in, these are the facts of what I'm going through, not the feelings of what I'm going through.
Yeah, no, I might want to describe the feelings I've been going through, but not relive them while doing it.
Like, when I'm depressed, to like sit here and just tell you everything I'm depressed about, or like, let's say, when we're in depression, we don't even always know what we're depressed about, right?
Right.
But like, let's say I'm having a downward spiral or a downward moment. The advice would be to just, and I do this, would be to just say, I'm having a downward moment. I'm feeling depressed, versus like, oh, this is going wrong for me and that's going wrong for me.
Right. It's to be the watcher of the thoughts. And what do we watch for? We watch for the negativity.
Right.
Because it's the negativity, I believe, the overdosing on negativity that brings the depression. Just the general thing of what it is there's too much negativity up here. And then the next thing, the mood is dropping like a stone. But it's true, we have situations in our lives that we perceive to be problems, but that's one of the things that we learn in overcoming, right? Is to see that it's not so much problems, that framing it as a problem is really the problem. And that, you don't have to. In Nepal, nobody frames their chores of their day as a problem. They just mention, these are my chores. It's to them, it seems not a problem.
One thing about depression or anxiety I've noticed is in the past, like, you're feeling a deep, dark depression sometimes, and then you want to put it on something else. So you want to say like, oh, I'm probably depressed because, I went through this relationship, or I had this upbringing or something. You want to put it on, and then that's when you kind of get caught in it. If you just like focus and obsess on the problem over and over again.
Totally. I used to have a big problem for several years. In the hour between when I went to bed and when I fell asleep, I would go over all of my resentments. Okay. Yes. I would sit there and like recount my resentments to myself. Well, hey, naturally, it was an unpleasant experience. Like, what I think was what did I think was going to happen? Did I think I was going to enjoy doing that, and I was going to be better off for doing it? If I was mistaken.
And that brings us to you wrote down a little list of tools here, and I'm going to point to one of them as I pull it up. So this is the Overcoming Depression, 6 recommendations from Frank's experience that he wrote. And he's got 2 sections, the inward and most powerful. Number 1 is mindfulness, being mindful of ants, automatic negative thoughts. So these automatic negative thoughts would be these resentments being sent over and over again. I would assume.
They're an example of ants, right? Spoiling the picnic, totally.
But also, automatic negative thoughts would be like whenever I look at something, I'm just judging it and I'm just saying it sucks. Like, what are your examples of ants or of these negative thoughts?
Looking at the weather and going, "Oh, it's a terrible day."
And I'm gonna have a terrible day because it's rainy
It,
out. So there's no way I'm
it,
gonna have a good day.
right. It's already guaranteed my whole day is screwed. It's going to be a miserable day because the weather is out. Hey, people, you've already consigned yourself now to 8 hours of misery.
Well, no,
Please don't consign yourself to 8 hours of misery so quickly and flippantly. Be reluctant to go. And so all these.
even being conscious of this stuff, like it's an easy thing to do. Like, oh well, this week I don't have money, or this week I have to deal with this person, so like I'm gonna have to have a bad week. Like I think it's so easy to do.
Yeah. Well, we're taught that by this civilization. It tells us that if something doesn't go the way you want it, when you want it, how you want it, you should be angry, you should complain, you should feel sad.
Mm-hmm.
In Nepal, they don't do it that way.
Nepal. Where
I
else?
love to use their example.
Where else don't they do it that way? Is it specifically there they don't do it, or?
Well, they're famous for the happiest people in the world because of what they do up here and how they live up here. So they're the only people I can think of who are sort of famous for their good mental approach to life.
Interesting. So where is that?
Near India. And Nepal's like a tiny country in the Himalayas, way up in the Himalayas.
And that's because India also seems like a place where they have a lot of consciousness.
I think they have a lot of everything. It's like 1.4 billion people in India. So, man, they've got everything under the sun and then some. But they, of course, have the great Indus Valley, spiritual tradition. Without question.
So then,
I have a lot of respect for that Indus Valley tradition. I do.
Yeah. I was hanging out with my friend who's Indian yesterday, and we were asking him how they greet each other, and he was saying it was like dom or god, like, but it was like basically what it means was like god, like it seemed to me like they greet each other with like some kind of a God bless you.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I was like, well, if that's true, then spirituality is very ingrained in their culture.
Yes, I think that is true. But I think that when I met like a million people in India in grad school and in all these jobs I had and all this kind of stuff, they seem to be kind of like us, though, in terms of being able to manufacture unhappiness out of things. I thought they didn't deviate that much from, Americans.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there's still the desire to probably be productive and make money, and maybe some of them find a wife, some of them get the prearranged wife. But did your friends have prearranged wives?
Some did. They seemed very happy. So who knows? Maybe they were.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So it's just another way of doing it. There's no good or bad, right?
It wouldn't occur to us. I mean, in our tradition, that would seem like a pretty crazy thing to do, right? But apparently it works.
Let's go down the list here. Number 2, number 2 would be meditativeness, acceptance, stillness, and then we could tie that back to mindfulness. But yeah, what does mindfulness look like?
Okay, so mindfulness was the one where we watch our thoughts and watch, especially for the feeling tone of our thoughts, the negative thoughts, because they're not us. They're just this body we're attached to. And our mind is very worried about things, and our mind has a lot of negative, preconditioned patterns to it and all this kind of stuff, but our permanent essence does not. So the idea behind meditativeness, the way I use that word, is to, in whatever, by whatever means, stopping the noisy chatter in the mind and disidentifying from it, letting it be the crazy chattery mind and let it not be me, the experiencer.
Yeah. Do you have a meditation technique you use?
I use acceptance.
Acceptance. You
So
just
I don't meditate formally. I, throughout the day, accept and accept radically everything. And I'm never extremely far from it. So my thing is meditativeness.
hmm
It's not that I feel I need to control my breathing pattern or I need to do this or that. The idea is that I'm focusing my experience on my permanent essence, because when I quiet the mind, that's simply what's left.
So if we could try to, and this is for myself, think of it as an energy, like an energy of acceptance, and then just like being overcome by like this principle of this energy, I love the acceptance, and just like whatever comes at me, it's gonna bounce off my force field of acceptance almost.
No, the acceptance for me puts me into the permanent essence, and that's the force field.
Okay, so your acceptance is like a
A
feeling
means.
that brings you into your permanent essence. Would you
Yeah, and
call
that
it?
has the force field.
Would you call it a feeling? Acceptance.
Let's see, what is acceptance? I think it's an action. I think it
Mm,
requires a little bit of my concentration.
mm,
I have to like focus my experience. And
hmm
that actually is a little bit of work, right? It's a little bit of effort.
Well, I think that ties back to mindfulness because then whatever comes through, you have to accept it, and that's you being mindful and then accepting it.
Yeah, it's definitely a big alertness to what's going on in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here we go. We got comments, maybe. Oh, here we go. Oh, Olivia, thank you for joining us. We're talking about dealing with depression today with my friend Frank. Frank and I met in Las Vegas. And Frank's still in Las Vegas. And I love that you're able to come on my show, Frank. Appreciate you.
Brandon is a great friend, people. He's got a lot of friends that come on the show, and we're all very lucky. I've been in a bad mood. I was talking to my friend Brandon before the show, and the next thing you know, we're both laughing ourselves silly out of the chair.
Oh yeah,
That's
and
my
I'm
experience
not.
of Brandon.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm dealing with depression today. It's just that feeling. I don't know where it comes from. It's been kind of this whole month, but it's some people say it comes with the weather. Some people say that there's energy fields in motion, but ebbs and flows in general. Like, I'm not depressed all the time right now. I'm feeling okay, and then it just but
Yeah.
I'm definitely dealing with it. And I like this. Well, I like talking about it. I think when I'm talking about solution, I'm closer to being happy.
Sweet.
So
Nice.
stillness, that would be if we're talking about meditation, and we're talking meditativeness, we're talking about mindfulness, we're talking about stillness. What if you close your eyes and it's so chaotic? I mean, probably most importantly, you gotta just take the time to try to still your mind. But when we try to still our mind, what if it's still so chaotic? This is my big question because I have a chaotic mind. So how do you get into stillness yourself?
Stillness is actually not proven to be an effective portal for me.
Mm.
I know it is for millions worldwide, but as many times as I tried being still, it didn't seem to take me anywhere. It didn't seem to give me a force field. It didn't seem to do anything for me. But I mention it because I mean people all over the world do it, right? They just want to still themselves and get a breathing pattern going and some other things like that. And then they say that's this thing called meditation.
A mantra, perhaps.
I say, yeah, that's right. A lot use mantra. A lot use mantra for that
So
also.
you do on here. You have acceptance. So when you talk about a portal, because that's even foreign to me. I don't know a lot about these portals, but it sounds like it's a feeling, or it's something. It's a state of being that allows you to get into your permanent essence, which is your peace, your peace of mind, your higher self, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So your
And
portal. Some people could use stillness, and they would
right.
just completely still themselves and let thoughts slow down over time and eventually go down to zero thoughts or very little thoughts. But for you use a portal, which is another thing that you let take over your whole body of acceptance. And we already talked about how you do it. Well, what could be some other portals?
I don't know that many, but I told you the other day I recently discovered that when I contemplate the Buddha's grin, I feel the peace because I sit there and I try to decide why is he grinning, and I think of all these different reasons why he's grinning,
Yeah.
or just view the picture, and my I can feel that I'm right centered over where I want to be right now. I don't know. I just feel it.
Yeah, and I would have to say that this concept of portals of of feelings and emotions and ways of being that can take us into our happiness and peace and our spirit on the higher plane, because this concept is, somebody just came up with this concept, or they're tapping into something. These portals, there's probably all kinds of different portals, and everybody can find
Yeah.
for themselves. I could imagine love as a portal, or forgiveness as a portal.
Right. I even thought the other day I had a really big sneeze, bro. And in the moments after the sneeze, I felt a kind of euphoria. And I thought for a moment, that's almost a portal. It goes away too fast to actually be a portal. But
Mm-hmm.
if you could sneeze and if you could capture the euphoria for about 30 seconds, I think it would do it.
Sure. Well, you get into like head changes, and like people do use psychedelics as portals. I'm sure.
Right, right, right,
And
right. They're doing a lot of experiments with psilocybin mushrooms, and
all
they say,
substances might take people towards higher, towards the thinking. I mean, but I'm not here to say that's what I do, because I've actually just chosen to try to find happiness and peace of mind, like without too many substances. So
well, I would say for me, liberation has to be free and it has to be always available. If my liberation isn't free and always available, I'm using the wrong thing.
hey, that's really good advice, and that speaks to substances, because that's why we become dependent on them, is because when we don't have them, we would no longer, like, my big thing was, I want to be here doing the show, and if I needed a Xanax every time I did it, I'd be in a lot of trouble. I had to have found how to do it in a sober state myself.
Mm. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. So, but um let's see. Let's go back to the list. Brand balanced thoughts. Free.
Mm.
Free from obsession. This is where you brought up obsession.
The worst mental health outcomes I have seen in the past 15 years come from people who get stuck on something in their mind and think that the way out is to keep thinking it and keep thinking and thinking it and thinking it, and somehow they're going to push through that way. I have found that it's just an extremely dangerous thing to happen. I got into it myself about 15 years ago, and I got stuck in a place like that for a couple of weeks, and then I got all jammed up with panic attacks and stuff like that. So I will say that the way out is never obsession. The way out is the opposite, balancing thoughts like cooking breakfast and balancing thoughts like taking the dog for a walk, and balance everything, and having a, if you want to feel normal, sort of act normal.
Yeah, I can tell you about obsession because I deal with it myself over my whole life.
Mm,
Which is, if it's an obsession, you think that like something's going to be so great on the other side of it once you figure it out, or once you get what you're obsessing on, or but then it doesn't work like that. So that's what's important to remember is you could be obsessing on something and think, oh, this is going to be so great, but like there is no magic cure, to like figuring out all your problems, or when you get the job or you get the girl that all your problems are going to be solved or something.
right. Right. If that was true, I guess the divorce courts would be quite empty of people.
Yeah, I think like my therapist would, I think she would tell me this so often because I do it so much, just like the grass is always greener kind of mentality, like always chasing. And she just said, enjoy the journey, instead of chasing,
Right.
instead of just chasing. Um, yeah, Jeff Jawa in the house here with Brandon K show with Frank. My friend Jeff's here.
Hey, Jeff.
I assume he's watching on YouTube. So yeah, we're broadcasting live from YouTube. We're talking about depression. Check this out. We got Frank's tips to overcoming depression. Frank and I met in a group where he was counseling people on depression. You got the inward, and he wrote these out for himself today about what helps him. So you got the inward, the mindfulness, being mindful of ANTs, automatic negative thoughts. 2, meditativeness, acceptance, stillness, other. 3, balanced thoughts, free from obsession. That's the one we were just on. We were on getting over obsessive thinking, which I deal with a lot. And it can be towards anything. I could do it on this show. I could be obsessing on this show if I wanted to. Now we're getting into the outward, practical, achievable, without permission of other people, with some exceptions. Balance exercise is your outward advice to us.
Yeah, I mean, I can get restless if I don't get enough exercise in during the day. So I know for me, I need to have some exercise to balance stuff out, or I really feel bad. But I think that just in general, if somebody came to me and said they're really in a heavier kind of depression than they ever were, one thing I would say is, do you think you're balancing your exercise? You're getting enough exercise to meet your needs?
Yeah, I'm doing it. Well, I took a nice good walk yesterday, but yeah, like when I'm depressed, I don't want to do anything. That's kind of the
Right.
problem. But you got to basically force yourself into walking around the block. What kind of exercise do you do, Frank?
I can only walk. I'm a pretty broken down old man since I had COVID, and so the only thing I can do is walk. And I don't even walk far. What I do is I try to go for several walks.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, it's really short. But I do feel tireder in the body after a few walks. So I
Yeah, and
do
you
it.
have your electric bike. You said that was, well, maybe you don't anymore. Do you still have your electric bike?
Yeah, I don't hardly ride it as much. So
Yeah, but that was, you were getting your exercise, just kind of getting on there and getting around town a little bit.
yeah. I used to put a lot of mileage on. No, not as much.
Um, let's see. And then for depressed, we have the urge to just do nothing, but you say we should balance our work and chores and relaxation.
So many people I know have a problem with chores in their life, that they're being beaten to shit by their chores in their life.
Hmm.
And I don't know a solution to that, but I just do know that I have seen people who are really unhappy because they don't have a good balance there. And I just would recommend to anybody, if just in general they were feeling really terrible, I would look to that area in my life and I would think about it. And I put a little star on work there because I realize you don't really have the ability to change work without permission of other people. It's not quite true, is it? But
Well, here's what you can control is, and yourself, you simplify down to where you don't have a lot of stuff that is, taking up your time and energy. And like as far as chores, I know gurus would talk about just cut your activities in half, and you won't have as many chores. But like not everybody can do that. Not everybody starts at.
if only it was that easy.
Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. I think this thing with chores, I think a lot of time people have ADD when they have the chores situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so strong. My God, I know people, at least four people I can think of who talk about it all the time.
Mm.
It's really eating them up alive. It's awful. And I wish I knew what to say specifically about it. I just know that it's a killer.
Kind of comes back to the automatic negative thoughts too, and like looking for something to be depressed about, like uh
Hmm.
like that's
Hmm.
something, because our work area is important, so it's just like, oh, if this work area was clean, then I could feel happy or something. But like that's kind of a mindset too.
Yeah, any kind of delaying happiness, you know what I mean, until after ABC happens, not a great idea, right? I mean, we're basically forfeiting being happy until then.
Yeah, I was just saying,
That's too important that time, man. We can't spend all that time being unhappy. We got to spend that time being happy.
I'll share my meditation technique here with anybody listening, which is I imagine a body of water, and I close my eyes and I imagine a body, my favorite body of water. Mine is a lake, kind of like a cold winter lake. And I imagine a raft, and I put all my problems and troubles and chores and obsessions and vices, and I put it all on the raft, and I push the raft out into the water, and I am the stillness and the spirit that remains on the shore.
That's
Uh,
your portal, bro. Yeah, that's your meditativeness. Far out.
sure, yeah. And I was telling this to a friend recently, and like, but in that moment when I'm on the shore and all my troubles are out there on the raft, and I can light the raft on fire and I can push it down a waterfall, get that as far away from me as possible. But then I can sit there and ask myself questions about how does this being on the shore live? Like what because he doesn't have to fear all the stuff that I already got rid of. So I can ask myself, I can live in that moment and be like, what would my life be like if I was free of problems? What do I really want in life without fears, without vices? So you can see how this could be a strong portal for me.
Right.
But point is that if I was focusing on chores, and I do make lists, and I try to knock down my chores and my goals down quick, or and sometimes when I'm lazy, they stack up and it doesn't feel good. But point is that in any moment we can kind of, we are not our chores. So at any moment you can make a conscious choice to be happy, and not focusing on your chores and letting it ruin your day. The way I do it is I just think that's not going to help me. That's not going to be helpful to me. So let's get in a good state of mind and then go tackle our chores. That's kind of how I think of it.
Sweet,
As far
sweet, sweet.
as how I think of it. Doesn't always work.
Okay, okay. It's so much better than not trying, though. Just automatically signing up for the misery, like before it's got to be the worst way to do it. It's got to be better to say, I'm going to do this like a yogi would do it. The yogi is just going to sit there smiling his ass off the whole time as he does this. You know what I mean? Why not be like the yogi,
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I have a job here of I got to clear up space to make these videos. I got to I want to post them all in audio form. So anyways, I got like these long things that I can sit here and get upset about. But even if you're sitting there stressing on something like, oh, I have to write all this stuff, or I have to post all this stuff, clean all this stuff, clean this whole room, make this studio look nice, whatever I could be focusing on, even as I'm talking, you start spiraling and getting upset. And then I know I've learned that I got to go take a walk around the block or call a friend and to calm down. So that's important to me, is to not get into the stress state, not to get into the stress state, because I just know it's not good for me.
It's super great. It's super great that you do that, because can you imagine if you didn't put up that resistance to the old habit and just let the old habit walk right over you?
Yeah, I can.
It's great.
I can do it, and I got to catch myself. I got to be mindful and say, I'm doing it again, and then take a step back and say, and like you said, ADD, but or even productivity in our society is just like, and I said it in my I'm Only Sleeping song I did with you, rushing around at such a speed till we find there's no need. So it's just like the rushing can be very destructive to me. That's why I like that line.
Right. I hate to be Russian when I'm American.
So when my mind's going a million miles a minute, I got to slow it down. And I don't know how many people out there know that, depression isn't always just like super slow and dead and lifeless. Depression, to me, my mind could be going a million miles a minute and I could still be depressed physiologically. You heard that before, or you deal with that?
Me too, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Restlessness is one of my worst symptoms. I suppose it's anxiety, but the anxiety and the depression are not really that separable. They're so, commingled.
Mm-hmm. Let's go back to the list here. The last one, balance alone time and together time.
Yeah, for people who are lonely, and I suffer from it, a lot of times there's going to be sort of a lifelong need to look ahead at the schedule and make sure there's enough in it. Because people like me have had a lifelong habit of letting it just go down to zero and not making a conscious effort to say, hey, I've got to get some things into my schedule here. I got to get something going, because if I'm just spend all my time alone, I'm going to crack up, So it's really just a strict mental health thing for me, is that I need to learn to balance my alone time and my together time. And of course, together time is an asterisk item. It's not something that I have complete control over, right? People are busy. I can't just blink somebody and make them turn up here, right? I mean, it doesn't always turn out that way.
Sure. Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah. It's kind of like building a life where you have connections, like being part of a group or having access to a group, knowing where the groups are, if you wanted to go, see a comedy show or whatever, like knowing where they're at, or, knowing, and then having numbers, people to call, like it's a or even I'm sure a lot of stuff online these days is getting on Facebook. What do you think of that? Getting on Facebook, talking to people online.
I have been in a writers group, and I only go to the online meetings. I don't go in person.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say it's been a good addition to my schedule. Sometimes it's hard because it's 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Oh. They read and critique. And I don't really have my sea legs yet. I get tired after an hour. You know what I mean? But I find that I do like it, and it is does seem to have that effect of being integrated with people and having a social outing. It does feel that way.
That's awesome. Yeah, I I did some writing classes like that where you can all go around and kind of like judge each other's work and like listen to each other and add and critique and add and tell them where things could be pulled out. Like that's a really cool thing you got there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really happy. Henderson Writers Group, they're online, and it was $50 for a year, but they have like 3 meetings a week, so it's like a lot of meetings you get invited to for your
Uh,
$50.
that's awesome. Um, I yeah, along those lines, my big advice for depression is gravitate towards the positive, and the negative will disappear. So always be looking for a solution. Always be focusing on what you want in life, the positive that you want in life. Don't be focusing on the negative stuff. That's advice that was given to me that I can see how it's helpful.
Let me
Um,
interrupt that though. Let me interrupt that though. I don't want to. People often get into this false positivity thing where they take it too far.
sure,
So how would you say? How would you say? What would you say to that?
I would say that there's a fail safe of don't ever be beating myself up. Don't beat myself up. Always approach it with self love. Don't tell other people how to live. Don't. I only try to share my own experience. Um, and like understanding that there's an ebb and flow where I'm gonna have my highs and my lows. But yeah, the point of just like focusing on the positive, focusing on the solution, those might be two different things, but like you have a you have a choice in life. I feel like I have a choice in life to when I'm having a problem, I can focus on the problem, which is the negative feelings or um, what's going wrong, or I can focus on the solution. So and there's many, 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 many solutions out there, and you just kind of have to find them. So that's why I try to stay focused on the solution. And now, as far as focusing on the positive, that would just be a list of things that work for me. One of them is being creative. One of them is connection with others. So I get to do both those things here on the Brandon K Show. And before I was doing Brandon K Show, I'd be calling you on the phone with these same kind of discussions. So that's the connection. But and then so I was saying focusing on that brings me out of that darkness. So that's just how it works for me.
Now, what about the word denial and that sort of linked to false positivity? We don't want to encourage people to just try to live in some phony fantasy land.
Oh yeah, yeah, very true. The fantasy. What would the fantasy? The fantasy land would be everything's great when it's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I have plenty of people in my life who act in that way, and that's almost like denying other people their feelings and their emotions. So I believe that everyone has their own experience, and I have to give other people plenty of compassion, and I have to give myself compassion too. So with the compassion I give myself, that means to say if I'm having a bad day, doesn't make me a bad person, and I'm not going to beat myself up. Um, I'm going to just say, what can I do better? and that just ties back to being solution based. So I have two options: is I can beat myself up and say I'm never going to get better, or I can say what can I do to get better.
Beautiful, beautiful, brother.
And you brought
Right.
that up on our last episode about the serenity prayer. So what can I change? What can I accept and what can I change? And I live my life like that too, you know.
Spot on, brother.
So I don't know. So yeah, but did I mention? Yeah, doing something creative, that's positive to me. Connection is positive to me. Those are kind of the big ones. Working on myself, working on my spirituality, working on my mindfulness. Those are probably like, even, yeah, I mean, going and watching a movie. That's positive. That's positive. It's going to take me away from my darkness. I have the darkness inside. Unfortunately, I have
Mm.
the dark side. This guy, the dark side. We don't even know. Well, I can say, and you and I have been working on this many years, so it's like the darkness doesn't really fully go away, right? Does it?
No, the
Can it?
preconditioned, not to me, the preconditioned mind always does what it does. It's
Mm-hmm.
doing the same thing now that it did when I was in second grade. It behaves the same way, the preconditioned mind now, as it did then. So,
Mm-hmm.
no, it doesn't go away. But there can be so much mastery in handling it. Let's
Yes.
say you have a practice that's just so successful and you're dedicated to it and it just worked for you. And you could get on such an automatic thing there that you'd hardly notice the because you wouldn't identify with the preconditioned mind, right? It would
Mm-hmm.
just be on doing its thing, but you'd be there not identifying with it. And you might not even notice it and stuff like that. But no, I'm pretty sure the preconditioned mind dies when we die, not before.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, like, I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, it can be channeled. All this darkness I've been through or go through daily, it can be channeled into creativity, for one. You know, plenty of people turn their negativity into art, or their crazy thoughts, obsessions into art. It can also be channeled into helping somebody else, because I say, hey, you know,
Yeah.
it's channels into compassion and empathy, you know. So I'm
I
not
think
getting.
I left that off. That was one I was thinking at the last minute was number 7 is help somebody who's feeling depressed.
Mhm.
This is a great way. Now, the life doesn't always present such a situation,
Yeah.
but this is one that I have done a tremendous amount of, and I can say that it's very effective for me. I used to do it with senior dogs that I had in the house, and they were
Dogs.
dogs, but very senior. They could
Okay.
barely move.
Oh yeah, yeah. Try to cheer up your dogs. That's good.
Try to cheer up the dog. Just lay down with a really infirm dog. Just lay down next to him and just be his buddy. You should see the ear to ear smile that comes out on an old infirm dog like that.
I believe it. Yeah, because I was gonna go and ask, like, helping somebody, like, because some people, and they're gonna be depressed. You might not cheer them up, because
Right.
they're, you know, and it could. I mean, a dog is easier to cheer up than a very depressed. But like when you say, "Oh, try to cheer them up or try to be there for somebody," I guess all you can really do is just be there for them and listen to them, right? Or, you know, you don't even want to go in there and try to problem solve. You just want to kind of be.
No, I know it's terrible. I don't know what to do when I talk to people and they're just obsessing on their problems. I don't know what to do. Should I, on the one hand, say, "Oh, what terrible problems? How I feel so bad for you," or on the other hand, should I say, "Well, the best thing to do is realize that part of the way part of our experience works is that It's really just challenges. It's really just what today's presenting. It's not even really a problem at all.
Mm-hmm.
If you frame it from, like your permanent essence, it just turns out to be that what you're doing today. It's not a problem. It's just what you're doing today. But I don't think either of them really transmit well.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know what to say when people are freaking out about that. I really don't. I wish you could tell me.
Oh, well, I mean, I said that sometimes you just want to sit there and listen and just let
Yeah.
them know that you're there. But I find that helpful, like because I've been in very deep depression, but just knowing that somebody understands is important, I think.
Right.
So, I mean, that's not the solution to my depression, but I mean, it's nice to know that like I'm not alone. So, like,
Yeah.
I mean, even I like to do that with this show. I mean, that's why I'll talk about anything on this show. But like, I would just listen to just the radio. I would just listen to Howard Stern and just it's like having a friend. Just
Right.
like listening to the radio. I know people, especially depressed people, they get into their favorite shows and they have their comfort shows and it's like having friends.
It's true. I used to feel that way about Better Call Saul
Awesome.
because it was like you could go on the internet and like chat away about it like
Nice.
after an episode, and like everybody wanted to hear about the latest and get all their stuff in.
Yeah.
And I feel that way sometimes, like about the NFL playoffs. Like you could just be in a store, but you can immediately start talking to somebody because they got a 49ers cap on, right? And
hmm
then here we go. Here comes a big spate of football talk is going to come out. So, no, I think things like that are fun, are a lot of fun.
a question. So you were around before the internet, like kind of blew up, like in the '80s. Let's go back to the '80s. Were people more connected or less connected or the same amount of connected before the internet?
About the same.
About
There
about
was
the
a lot. There was a lot that used to go on with advertisements in newspapers.
mm-hmm.
You could meet girls, you could get jobs, you could anything and everything was, uh, uh, you could connect to a wide public through small, affordable advertisements in newspapers.
Okay, so for that reason, like you could, I mean, now you can type in any interest you have and find a whole message board of people to talk to it about. Like that would be more.
Right.
That would be more.
That's more.
That would be like more connected, more specific. I could connect to everybody on the planet.
Right,
And
right. It's different in that way. But in the old days you could go to some like hippie kind of like place where there's coffee shop, and you could put up notes on the bulletin board.
right, right, right.
And it's a lot like posting on Facebook. You could just try to get a funny stream going or something.
What about like socially? Like, was it were people more open to talking because they weren't on their phones, or were they, or was
No,
it that
same.
that part's equal?
I think it's the same in my experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people have their phones, but listen, when me and you are running around joking and laughing and everything, like the phones isn't stopping that from happening, right? I mean, we're just clowning around. We're just having a big old time. The fact that we're both carrying phones isn't really like
Yeah.
messing
Well,
messing it up to me.
yeah, I hear you. Well, I like that. I like that answer. Let's see. So if anybody's joining us here, we got a couple people watching. Frank went over these ideas for overcoming depression, and there were the N words. There was the mindfulness, being watching out for automatic negative thoughts, the meditativeness, acceptance, stillness, and other balanced thoughts. Using balance. I like to talk about balanced thoughts again. I learned in therapy about balanced thoughts are my thoughts are immediately negative, and so my thought is, oh, this show isn't going well. These people aren't watching. I'm doing a bad job. I look foolish. Okay, so these are my negative immediate thoughts, and then I have to come in with my balanced thoughts. which are not necessarily going, oh, you're doing a great job, maybe that'll help. That's more like an affirmation, but it's more like you don't know. You don't know if people are enjoying it or not. You don't know how you're coming across, especially when I'm so negative of myself that in the moment I hate myself. This is going, but uh, when I go back and look, I'm like, oh, I did a good job.
Yeah, because you
That's
have this preconditioned, idea of attacking yourself. Yes, yes.
that's some balanced thoughts I have to do, because like if I was watching this on the internet, I'd be like, oh, I'm enjoying this. These guys are having a good time and they're chatting with each other. But from when I'm judging myself, it's like it's never good enough. It's never good enough.
Yeah, that's awful. That's awful. Yeah.
The balanced thoughts are to say like, uh, just being accepting of like what I said, but saying that like not criticizing other people as much either, but also not criticizing myself as much.
Right.
What do you call balanced thoughts?
Well, I really was talking in that case about obsession, which is really something so different. So only because I knew like three people in the past like 5, 10 years who really went crazy from obsession. They really, really, really went crazy from allowing their minds to just focus on one thing. So I
And
just wanted to mention it.
was it ever about girls or was it about different stuff or
Well, there was a woman who it was about guys.
okay, there you go.
She wanted to be married and
Yeah.
she couldn't figure out how to get herself married.
Mm-hmm.
And she she would like call me and she would like ask that same question like 10 times when we're in one phone call.
How to
Or
get
not ask it as a question. She would complain like, oh, it's so terrible. I don't know how to find a life partner. It's so bad. It's so terrible. And all that kind of stuff. She would say that like more than 10 times in one phone call. And then you get a call from her in a week, and then it's again 10 more times.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how personal you want to get, but did she want to be your boyfriend or was she just
No, no. Definitely not my boyfriend, but I think she didn't even want to be my girlfriend.
So, but no, I get it. I get it because we have friends in this life and they get caught up on something and then yeah, they're not. She probably wasn't seeing you as her solution, but she just wanted somebody to talk to, I guess.
She said she was very, very, very lonely and that she needed someone to talk to. But whenever I try to suggest in between all the complaints about, the boyfriend situation, that we talk about something else or we talk about something else, she would get like mad at me, thinking I'm being like frivolous and like taking this important topic and treating it like it's not important.
Well,
But I felt like after 5 times, then it's enough.
and someone in the chat said, "My bad self-talk has me undermine everything good to the point that I think everyone hates me, especially women."
It's not true.
That's our advice is that that's the bad negative preconditioned mind, and it's going to tell you that you're not good enough and that no one likes you, but it really isn't true. And you can go to your own experience. I don't know if you've had a girlfriend or if you've but it's like for anybody, our mind is more, our mind tells us worse things than people tell us, or women or the rejection we get from women isn't as bad as the voice in the head usually.
I mean, for those of us with the depression, especially, yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like somebody could reject you and you just obsess about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
on the upset. Oh, we lost Frank. On the upset. You back?
Hello.
Yeah, you're back. On the obsession topic. So if somebody gets obsessed on trying to figure out their mental state or some resentment from the past or an obsession with a member of the opposite sex, they're obsessing because they, like we talked about earlier, they think that's going to be their solution and things are going to be so great once they find it. But potentially I would say address the obsession, or address the issues, the inner issues. One thing I can say about obsession too is it's a really hard thing to kick.
Mm.
There's no real medication for obsession. Um, I've done a lot of inner work on obsession. I went to programs. Um, so it's kind of like you got to just find what works for you and focus on the positive. I mean, like, I wish I could sit here and tell all my good advice on how to get over obsession. Um, but it could be very similar to what I've said about getting over depression, which is, focusing on the positive, focusing on the solution, helping others, being creative. Um,
And I would say knowing that we don't want to be obsessing is really important. Suppose people don't realize that obsessing becomes the enemy after a while. Suppose they keep thinking it's the boyfriend.
mm-hmm.
They're mistaken. It's now the obsession has taken on a life of its own, and now the obsession is causing you more harm mentally than is the boyfriend.
Yeah, it's catching it. It's the mindfulness of catching it as the thoughts go through, and you're thinking about the same thing again, and you don't want to be thinking about the same thing again.
And notice it.
Catch it and say, there is a small point in there in the middle where I can say, okay, do I want to spiral about this obsession and go talk to somebody for an hour about it, or do I want to go try and focus on something positive? Like, I do have a choice in there, because if I was challenged with obsession, which I am, I could talk about it all day long.
Right.
But maybe journaling about it for 20 minutes and talking to a friend about it for 10 minutes is enough. Maybe I don't need to be talking about my obsession all day long with every person I come across.
See, that's great. That's great for the mental health. I'm sure it is.
Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, we have our choice of, when it comes to women, like, we have our choice of, do we want to listen to sad songs all day and obsess more? Or do we want to, try to maybe put on something educational, or put on something, maybe call someone and ask them about their day. These are ways to get out of obsession. Obsession's a tricky one.
Isn't it?
And you got the OCD. That's another form of obsession. You got the obsession with women. You got obsession with life situations, resentment. Like, I only know how these things affect me, but I imagine there's a lot of obsessing going on in a lot of people's minds out there.
I know I do because my jaw, I often notice, is kind of tight.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what that is a bunch of nervous thoughts. It's a bunch of just unsettled thoughts that I'm not even noticing. They're not even big enough to make it up on the radar to where I notice them with the watchful mind. But my jaw knows because my jaw is tense.
That's interesting. Mine's like an energy, like a nervous energy, stress and energy.
Hmm.
It's hard.
Restlessness? Would you say restlessness?
I'd say so. It's
Okay.
hard to get a grasp on. And
Yeah.
and then when you get a certain feeling of the energy and the stress and the thoughts combined,
Woo.
then that's
a hard time. I call that hard time.
That's a certain state I can get into.
Man, I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry.
Which is why we went over the exercise. So exercise gets you out of your body, gets you out of your thoughts a little bit.
It tires you out. And maybe it makes these endorphins. They say there's these hormones called endorphins, and they add to a sense of well-being when you have them in balance. So maybe that too.
And talking to other people is the same deal, because they say that also gives you endorphins and some certain chemicals of, like, we're meant to be talking to each other
Right.
and caring about each other. So they say that, and that does literally get me out of my head,
Right.
and that helps with depression and obsession, and
Yeah.
and like you said, mindfulness is let's see, the mindfulness was your first thing you said on number one, is when we're talking about depression or obsession, mindfulness is probably one of the most important things we can do, right?
Yeah. I really think I put it number one on purpose. Yeah.
Mindfulness. And it's a whole discussion that you can write full books about and find, all kinds of different information out there on the internet. At our group, you would always be pulling out different things that were helpful to you.
Yeah. There's a million teachers out there teaching mindfulness, and usually it feels great when I check it out. I feel terrific.
Yeah, even like within, my first couple of years of therapy and everything, it's kind of like, as a young man, you don't really gravitate towards mindfulness as much. Doesn't seem
Right.
going to be helpful. But eventually, once it clicks, I guess that's when you can really put it to use. When you see it helping you.
Yeah. It's an experience. It's not an understanding.
Mm.
And so you have to like do it a lot. It's a thing you have to do all the time. That's why you asked me about acceptance. You said, is it a mood or is it a feeling? I said, no, it's a thing you do.
Mm.
It's like it requires a little bit of effort actually for me to like radically accept.
So yeah, before we wrap up here, would you tell us a few mindfulness teachers that have helped you?
Number one for me is Eckhart Tolle.
Power
Number two,
Power of Now.
Power of Now and A New Earth. Two really super duper books that I read like on tape. I listened to like 50 billion times, and they're marvelous. He narrates himself.
So in Power of Now, it's kind of like about his personal experience and advice, right?
He lays out a whole psychology of the mind, where the mind is really constructed of like the ego, the pain body, and the preconditioned mind, and then the permanent essence is kind of everything else.
For A New Earth, what would you say A New Earth is about? Was that what it was called? A New Earth? Or what was it called? The second book?
The second book, A New Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's what the second book is about. The first book, sorry, I got them out of order. The Power of Now was the first book.
Yes.
And that's about the whole stillness.
Oh.
And not getting caught up in the pre-living and the reliving of all the negativity.
So, but the New Earth, he just breaks it down more.
Yeah, he seems to come up with his own little idea of what the mind is what all the subsections of the whole mental experience.
Is that when he brings up the portals?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. New Earth.
Probably both.
Okay.
Because he's so heavily into stillness as a portal, he almost never goes 2 pages in a row without mentioning it. It's really big in his teaching.
So with this title, A New Earth, could you describe why he titled the book that? Is it?
Yeah, just like in the book of Isaiah, I think it is in the Bible, where there's going to be like a new earth, a millennial reign. The lamb will lie down with the lion, and they, the whole earth is going to change because there's going to be a different like brainwave that everybody, all the humans on the earth are going to be in tuned to.
Oh, wow.
And that's going to take down, like all the problems all over the earth. So it's a utopian scheme. So I don't, that aspect of it, I think, is maybe a little grand.
Yeah, well, I mean, I tend to believe in an awakening of everybody, a raising of consciousness of the whole earth. I think it's possible.
Boy, we couldn't lose much more. I mean, I think they're right. I mean, It is true, and it's funny how there's things going on in the world that look like consciousness is gaining, and there's things going on in the world that make it look like consciousness is really losing. So it's an exciting time to be alive, that's for sure.
It's an exciting time to be alive, and there's something which is that the ego fights back. So if people were waking up, the ego could be fighting back and saying, "No, I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose my control."
No question. People think that they need all the negativity from the ego in order to like do their job well. But I don't think so. I think you should just do your job well because it's a smart thing to do. I don't think you need any negativity to motivate you to do your job well. But I think it's ingrained in our civilization that like, oh, it's really good to beat yourself up because then you're going to do a good job. But I said, why don't I just do a good job because it's a good idea to do a good job.
I know. I heard Arnold Schwarzenegger wrote a new book, and he came on Howard Stern talking about it. I got to hear his interview for 20 minutes or so, but he was talking about how he beats himself up. That's how he's successful.
Okay.
Yeah.
But who needs all that negativity? See, me, I'm always floating at a little too much negativity to begin with. I don't want to add that.
Well, I guess we'd have to read the book to know how he brings it all together. But yeah, it's kind of like that's how people motivate themselves sometimes, is they have to beat themselves up, and
But I don't think he has depression.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's like been a super happy, sort of super achiever in his life.
Mm.
And maybe his natural background negativity is so low,
right,
that this isn't something that's making him mentally ill.
That could be a good point. Yeah, no, I mean, this is just something we all have to figure out for ourselves, is how we motivate ourselves. I listened to a guy online, Leo from actualize.org. He would call beating ourselves up a crude form of motivation, but he said a better form of motivation. So it's just like, it's going to work. It might work a little bit, but it might not be the best way to motivate ourselves.
Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think we need the negativity, man. I got enough negativity in my preconditioned mind.
So you got through the Eckhart Tolle books. Did you want to say any other mindfulness guys?
Yeah. Like most dudes on the internet who are like yogis, they're really hip to like mindfulness and meditativeness. And they're usually groovy cats who are like, I can feel the peace just coming off them in buckets of peace, as they talk and stuff like that. So I like a lot of cats who are like gurus or yogis or any of those kind of titles.
Yeah. I got two. I know two of them. There's Sadhguru.
Yeah.
Muji. My friend Harris told me about this guy Muji. He's really good.
Is he? Muji, I don't know. I do know Sadhguru. I kind of like Sadhguru, but I think Sadhguru has a lot of human foibles. Because I got pretty heavily into Sadhguru for a while, and I got the sort of the opinion that he's sort of self-dealing a little bit.
Interesting.
But he still is a fun guy to listen to because I feel the peace. I feel the joy coming off of Sadhguru.
What about Eckhart Tolle? Did you ever feel like he gets into his self even after he's written all these books about getting out of the ego? Do you ever feel like he gets into his ego sometimes?
No, but what I do notice about Eckhart is he gets into a lot of speculative stuff. Like in one of the books, he claims that he sort of had an exorcism with somebody where they had a big release of negative energy.
Yeah.
And he claims the negative energy followed him into a restaurant and caused a scene. Now, this I would call speculative at best. And bullshit, like, possibly. So that's my problem with Eckhart is once in a while he goes out on these fairly wild limbs. And, okay, it's not provable either way. So, okay, I'm not hanging the guy. But I don't notice that he's self-dealing and trying to make himself sound smarter than other people and trying to win arguments against other people. I don't think he's that.
So it's kind of out there at times.
He can be pretty far out, bro.
Yeah, but yeah, there's some connection between being out there and being peaceful and mindful and spiritual. Spiritual
This
enlightenment is going to come with some crazy thoughts, I'm sure.
It does seem that way. It seems like the average yogi who's like really blissful, they got some ideas that are a little off the beaten path. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy Leo from actualize.org that I listened to, he started to get into like connect. Well, he's kind of a he starts to call himself God a lot. But then,
not an endearing quality, but all right.
But then he started to say he's connecting to other universes and other gods. So he got real.
Oh boy. Okay.
He got real out there.
Yeah.
But the last few years, a lot of his videos were just about deeper realizations that he's God. And I've heard you talk about similar stuff that we're all.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, I'm sort of inclined to think that he might have been onto something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's
because I think that when I die, I'm going to just go back to being God like everybody else does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the same God that I'm going to be is the same God you are, and the same you're going to be, and the same God that Jim is going to be, and Bill is going to be. We're all going to be the same God. We're going to go back to being God. So he could possibly be really attached to that. How do I know?
It's all just.
But it's not provable.
Whatever person you listen to on this plane of existence, it's just how it is going to help us. Like, so when you're listening to Eckhart or I'm listening to him, it's like, how do I apply this to my life? Is it helpful? Is it true? Is it true to me? Is it true in my experience? And then some stuff will resonate, some stuff we won't resonate with. I talked about on this show that there's been times where in my life where I was like, I'm God, but that wasn't helpful to me because I went too far with it.
Okay.
So
we got to remember everybody's God, right? It's not that cool to think I'm God if I don't think everybody's equally God as me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I learned. I learned that as much as I am the universe, you are also the universe.
Right.
So that means there's a whole inner world within myself, but I can't be hyper focused on that. I have to remember you have just as big of a universe inside yourself.
Right.
Or
same one.
I mean, yeah, so there's a lot to that conversation, but it's interesting to even have these realizations and have these enlightenments, and then I bring it back to still be depressed sometimes. It's crazy.
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, mindfulness for me, it needs to be on all the time. It's not like I can give my mindfulness like an hour's vacation. I mean, even if I give it a 2 minutes vacation, I'm going to have preconditioned thoughts come up in the 2 minutes.
Yeah, and then for you and your preconditioned thoughts, you just let them pass because they're not helpful, or what do you do with the thoughts?
Sometimes I notice a tension in my chest.
Yeah.
And then I realize I'm like reliving or pre-living something, and I'm like feeling like the stress in the moment of the difficulty of the moment I'm pre-living or reliving.
Yes.
And so
you're mindful of it in that moment.
Yeah.
Realize
so right. And so then I try to realize, hey, can I accept the universe right now with this crazy thought going through my mind here? And I say, yeah. No, I accept it. It's okay that this is happening right now. All right, I'm feeling this tension in my chest. All right, I'm feeling this and that. I have these crazy thoughts going through my head, but okay, that's okay for right now. I'm going to let that be okay for right now.
Just accept it for what it is.
and don't identify with it. It's not me.
That's interesting. Yeah. Do you ever like journal, or I know you make art. Do you ever channel it into your art, your music,
Only my last song.
your last
My
song?
last song has a bunch of present moment baloney in it. And normally, I would never use like recovery or mindfulness or anything like that for a song because it comes off. I thought my last song came off as like a little too cheerful, a little bit too rah, rah, rah. You know what I mean? There was sort of had that flavor on it.
I liked it a lot. I think I know which one you're talking about, and I thought it was actually pretty good.
I like the music, but I thought that the words were a little bit like overly sappy and happy because I had never really written about anything about mindfulness or recovery or anything before. I guess I don't have good sea legs for writing about stuff like that. I guess I don't.
I liked it though, so that's just a judgment. I
Well,
think
I hope you sample it and make it the theme to your show, brother.
yes,
Yeah.
it's beyond that. That song was more like advice, or like more like something deeply spiritual to be shared on an episode for sure. I want to do an episode where we could share some of your music for sure.
Beautiful.
I got an idea because you know how my episodes are in alphabetical order. So when I get to F, I want to do Frank's music.
Way cool.
No, actually,
Suppose it was
I wanted
Frank
to do
Aviza's music. A.
well, A's gone already.
Oh, never mind.
Frank and I's music because we made some music together.
Yes, yes, yes. You were a don't mess with the hat. Brandon kicked it up like 10 notches, and that recording came out beautifully. Yes.
It'd be cool to share that when I get to F.
Cool.
All right. Well, we did a good, solid show here. Thank you for joining me, Frank. Thank you for teaching us about the portals and the how to overcome depression. I'll put it up on the screen one more time. Anybody missed it? Well, there it is. I always like it when you can codify something, when you can simplify something into a couple of easy to remember ideas. And I thought you did a great job with distilling that. It's important to me. If nothing else, I learned something today.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining me, and I'm gonna end it there.
Much love, Mr. Brandon, and everybody out there. Much love.
Thank you for joining us.